1, 2, mic check. 1, 2. All right, man. Just in. Breaking news an hour ago, at least on the Hill, where we're getting this from. Another Boeing whistleblower turned up dead recently. All right. This just came across my desk. For those who don't know, a few months ago, one of the guys in this Boeing whistleblower case, quality manager guy, turned up dead just a few months ago, I believe. Towards the end of the case is pretty much over with, but so now there's another whistleblower apparently that turned up dead recently. So let's take a look. Let's take a look here. Make sure. Oh. I always forget to add this. Coincidence, you think? One guy turned up dead, and that was his family, his lawyers, everything said he didn't. They claim it was suicide. Everybody involved with that case and that knew that guy personally is calling bullshit on the suicide conclusion there. Turned up dead, gunshot wound to the head, apparently in a hotel parking lot, which I believe he was in town for the actual, had something to do with the case, the whistleblower case. Anyway, it's too much, people. It's too much out here, I'll tell you. All right, just pressing a couple more buttons here. I think we're ready to go. Man. We're doing this live. All right, Rumble is the place to be to catch this live work. Twitch, all right, appreciate everybody over on X. But yeah, if you really want to support us, man, come over to Rumble. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, or follow the channel at least. All right, Screw UFO on Rumble, and Screw UFO anywhere, any platform you happen to be on, you want to find us. All right, Twitter, Instagram, Screw UFO. All right. So let's get into it.
A Boeing whistleblower who alleged Spirit leadership had ignored manufacturing defects on the 737 MAX has suddenly died. This is the second Boeing whistleblower to have died in the last 2 months as the company has come under increased scrutiny. The Seattle Times first reported that Joshua Dean, a quality auditor at supplier Spirit Aerosystems, died Tuesday at just 45 years old from a fast-spreading infection. Dean had previously filed a complaint with the Federal Aviation Administration alleging there was, quote, serious and gross misconduct by senior quality management of the 737 production line.
Dean was laid off last year and filed a complaint with the Department of Labor alleging that his termination was retaliation for raising concerns about the company's manufacturing plant. The news comes as journalist and activist Cory Doctorow reports that in a non-union shop in Charleston, South Carolina, where Boeing 787 Dreamliner is manufactured, there's a cage full of defective parts that have been pulled from production because they are not airworthy. Doctorow reports that hundreds of those parts were secretly pulled from that cage and installed on operating aircraft.
In other airline news, lawmakers advanced a bill that could undermine Biden's promise of automatic refunds on canceled or delayed flights, according to new reporting by The Lever. For context, the Biden administration announced a new rule last week that promised if airlines cancel or significantly delay flights, passengers will automatically be given their money back without having to go through the cumbersome process of requesting it.
Now, just days later, though, 4 members of Congress who oversee aviation policy started advancing legislation that could potentially reimpose the cumbersome process on passengers. The catch?
Why Why the fuck does the president have to pass a law so you can get a refund for your canceled flight? That's what we're doing now today. That's news to me. That's amazing.
These lawmakers form the 6th largest congressional recipients of campaign cash from the airline industry in the current election cycle.
The lever names the
Current election cycle.
Wait a minute.
Or the 6th largest congressional potentially reimposed later, though, for
all right. So
their money back with airlines cancel or lever for funds on canceled or delayed
on operating aircraft.
and other airlines.
All right. Just going to make sure I got this straight.
Line news, lawmakers advanced a bill that could undermine Biden's promise of automatic refunds on canceled or delayed flights, according to new reporting by The Lever. For context, the Biden administration announced a new rule last week that promised if airlines cancel or significantly delay flights, passengers will automatically be given their money back without having to go through the cumbersome process of requesting it.
Now, just days later, though, 4 members of Congress who oversee aviation policy started advancing legislation that could potentially reimpose the cumbersome process on passengers. The catch, these lawmakers form the 6th largest congressional recipients of campaign cash from the airline industry in the current election cycle.
Ooh.
That's hilarious, man. Look at his face. Like these guys are like, hey, this is our job. I'm laughing because the obvious like corruption or whatever you want to call it, gamification. Buddy of mine, my man Grigio, we're talking. The obvious gamification. All right, they're not even trying to hide it anymore when it comes to these. All right, legislation. All right, the special interest groups. They're just putting it all right out there. That's hilarious.
The catch, these lawmakers form the 6th largest congressional recipients of campaign cash from the airline industry in the current election cycle.
Ooh. The lever names the lawmakers: Republican Senator Ted Cruz, Democratic Senator Maria Cantwell, Democratic Representative Rick Larson, and Republican Representative Sam Graves. A bipartisan effort there.
As always.
Look, exactly. The news that Biden had managed to do something that was just good news for consumers, not having us be hamstrung by corporations and having to jump through all these hoops to get reimbursed for when the airline messes up and causes some delay in our flight plans, was the kind of, frankly, basic populist program that I think could really help a candidate who wasn't quite as mired in the muck as Joe Biden is.
So they can't, yeah. So it's like he's trying to do, again, with the foolishness with the election. So he's trying to do whatever he can to get some positive, do something so that people can say, hey, okay, the refund. Really? That's what we're doing now? Presidential fucking executive decision. Give people their money back if you cancel on them. That takes an executive presidential order now, I guess.
Generate some positive goodwill in the public. Now it seems like that's not even going to happen, specifically because of the lobbying efforts of the airline industry capturing enough members of Congress to try to overturn this basic common sense sort of a rule.
That's funny. And so he can't even do that. Because the lobbyists got the politicians. No. We're gonna pass another bill. Again, it's all bullshit. Okay, it's all smoke and mirrors as far as if you're rocking with us. Again, it's like it's their fault, and then but behind the scenes they're all eating, right? They're all wetting their beak. These politicians, the lobbyists. It's really amazing.
What do you make about the death of yet another whistleblower type person, frustrated former employee? Obviously, losing your job is a difficult experience that can exacerbate your bad health outcomes, something like that. So maybe it's just a coincidence, but obviously we talked about the
John
mysterious
Barnett,
to many people, circumstances of the death of the other whistleblower who believed to have killed himself.
Yes.
I don't know.
And this is what Cory Doctorow was writing about, and I strongly encourage people to read this entire.
So, again, we went over that, I believe, on a previous episode. You guys can look that up. But again, his family, his close friends, his lawyers that were working with him on that case all say 100% no way that he killed himself. And he actually told members of his family and friends, look, if I turn up dead, I didn't kill him. Like John McAfee. He had it. Remember John McAfee got it tattooed on his arm. I didn't kill myself or something like that. This guy did the same thing, and then he turns up dead.
Article. So the allegation here is that there was a cage of parts that had been marked as defective. When parts are pulled from a plane and put into this cage, they're permanently marked so that there can be absolutely no confusion, and they will not be reintegrated into airline craft.
Shouldn't they just throw those away?
Well, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
What Cory runs through in this piece is how the culture of Boeing shifted radically.
Hey, that guy better be careful. He's going to end up with a fast-moving infection. Don't be asking questions. Don't be asking common sense questions like that, buddy.
Well, that's a really good question. When parts are pulled from a plane and put into this cage, they're permanently marked so that there can be absolutely no confusion, and they will not be reintegrated into airline craft.
Shouldn't they just throw those away?
Man, be careful, man. You're gonna be next. You're gonna be next.
That's a really good question. What Cory runs through in this piece is how the culture of Boeing shifted radically when it merged with McDonnell Douglas in the late 90s. Douglas was known for its culture at that aviation firm of being extremely driven by pure financial motives, whereas Boeing had historically been known for having really high-quality engineers and making really high-quality planes. McDonnell Douglas ownership was very frustrated with this, and apparently were calling all of these very knowledgeable and capable engineers, hyper-talented a-holes or something like that, and wanted to get rid of them, and was frustrated by the fact that they kept gumming up their ability to simply use prioritize the profit motive over safety or quality. Okay, cut to that. That's the circumstances here. Cut to now we have this big cage of parts that are supposed to be off.
Did she say hyper-talented a-holes?
Forever. One of the things that the new Boeing was managed to do is to convince the government that it should do its own quality inspections, not have it outsourced to the FAA. At that point, you're basically in charge of reviewing checking your own work, which an institution like the new culture of Boeing, in the new culture of Boeing, is obviously going to lead to people cheating. Now, here's where they messed up. The last whistleblower, the one who's alleged to have killed himself, John Barnett, who is nicknamed, apparently was Swampy, and he's referred to as Swampy throughout Cory's piece, was one of the people who was assigned to do this checking. And he was not corrupt. He was part of the Boeing old guard. So when he was raising red flags about these kinds of things, there was this enormous amount of pushback. He was fired, and cut to now we know that he's being alleged to have killed himself in the car. But one of the discoveries was that the parts that were discarded and had big permanent red marks on them ended up integrated into God knows how many planes that are currently in the sky right now. That is what's going on at Boeing. This is a huge bombshell realization.
And safety and profits should not necessarily be in tension if the company is not shielded from liability protection or in a purely market operating system. If the product, the plane, whatever is being delivered, is there's an incentive to have it be nicer, safer, better, more efficient, so that you want to fly on those planes, or the airlines want to buy those planes or use those planes, all of that stuff. There's a market incentive. But if there's artificial intervention that prevents an airline or the manufacturer of the airplane that shields them from the harms associated with having sold people a defective product, then you end up, which is exactly what happens in the airline industry. We're describing the total capture by people in a regulatory sense, in an accountability sense. then you get distorted incentives and you get, well, we can continue making defective planes and we're not going to suffer any consequence from it because what can anyone do about it?
Well, corporate corruption and the corruption of our politicians is certainly an issue, but the fact that there is no alternative for the consumer because it's a monopoly is also a really big problem. Boeing is the last American plane manufacturer. There's nowhere else to go. And the enmeshment of Boeing and the government is so complete that you do get a situation where, of course, they're very rich, they're very powerful, they can buy off politicians, but also the government has entangled itself in an investment in Boeing providing it with a much needed resource, not just commercial planes, but military planes as well.
That's what I'm saying.
So there's a lot going on here, and I think people should be raising questions about why it is that these mergers were allowed to happen to completely diminish the ability for consumers to have real choice here.
I get it, young people. You don't understand. Look, we've been around long enough to understand why. Because that's what people want. That's what those people want to do. Okay, that's why this happened. Yeah, it's like totally. That's funny. They should just. It's totally subsidized by the government. They should just. Yeah, stop acting like it's a private entity. Yeah, Boeing, and just make it a government government subsidized operation, because that's pretty much what it is, right?
But moreover, to your point about if the airline companies were forced to internalize their costs, then they would be incentivized to be safe. It's a good point, but the problem is that there is no actual efficiency in the market. When you are making assessments about what the value of a life is, that's incredibly subjective. And what ends up happening is courts don't ever penalize companies sufficiently to make it not simply worth their while to let people die and then recoup. You're not going to get a court saying a human life is worth however many billions of dollars it would take for one of these airline companies to actually change its behavior.
I mean, the courts have said it's worth, what, 14 million or something like that?
What, a life?
That's the number the courts put on it.
I mean, it depends on, they base it on your earnings potential and things like that, so it varies from person to person. It's a cruel thing to have to estimate, but one of the problems is, and why some law and economics folks, like a professor that I had, in fact, in law school, push for stricter liability standards, is because, one, it's difficult oftentimes to prove liability and causation in the first place, and many people get off the hook that way. That's what happens with a lot of these environmental cases, right? Look at East Palestine. If someone gets cancer 10 years from now, how can they really prove that it's from something that happened, as opposed to the fact that cancer just happens to folks sometimes?
Yeah.
Are they going to talk about the guy? They just said fast-moving infection. So the second whistleblower guy just passed away.
The review, I checked. I followed all of the rules in terms of the now internal Boeing checks that they're obliged. If you follow the rules, this is part of what the perniciousness around some of these agents.
Oh my gosh. Oh shit. Wait. No. Stop. What the fuck's going on?
A lot of red flags going off here. I'm really grateful for the Lever to be continuing to cover this, and including specifically the congressional corruption angle, because the names of the people that are directly involved in doing something like unwinding a really good, finally good policy from Joe Biden, make it easier for you to be reimbursed when you have a flight canceled on you. They can't even let us have the good small things.
We're going to end it on that. We say it all the time. These people do not give a shit about you or me, okay? Anything that might benefit us in any small way that comes from any kind of legislation, that's by, like, accident. Now, see this? Again, it's all games. Biden. It's fucking stupid. Biden passes a law so you can get an instant refund. And then here come the other politicians that are eating off of the airline industry. Oh, no, wait a minute. Nope, y'all motherfuckers ain't eating. Nope, you ain't getting no instant refund. That's what it is, people. They don't give a shit about you, okay? Please understand that. All right? Please understand. That's funny, man. Yeah, you don't understand. How come? You know, it's people just got to realize. You just got to realize, yo, man, this shit goes on because that's what these people want, okay? That's what they want. If they wanted to really fix things, again, what are we going through a fucking a government, a presidential fucking executive order to get a refund? Like, how are we even there, Like that in itself, to me, that's how far gone all this shit is. But the fact that that's even a thing, that he did that allegedly, is amazing. All right, that's the only word I have for it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Screw UFO, man. So the conspiratorial aspect of this, which is why we're covering it, second whistleblower to die in a short amount of time, man. The last guy was less than 3 months ago, I want to say. And this one, and yeah, they really didn't get into detail. They said a fast-moving infection, which is strange. So we're going to have to look into that. I'm going to see if we can get some more info on this second whistleblower that just passed away, Boeing. Fast-moving, yeah, what the fuck is that about? All right. It's your man in the building. Screwface Reacts. And before we get out of here, Screwface and Grigio podcast available, all right? YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, all right? If there's a platform you can't find us on, let me know in the comments so we can take care of that for you guys. Screwface and Grigio, where we go, we go deep, all right, to UFO, UAP, paranormal, all right, space, man. We're out here trying to find some answers, some understanding, all right? Screwface and Grigio podcast. Appreciate everybody. All right, stay tuned. Screwface Reacts on Rumble at Screw UFO.